She is a Golden Globe winner. She's an Emmy nominee. She's the recipient of the Legion of Honor, and she is a legend, Jacqueline Bisset. Yes. Woo! So I moderate a lot of conversations here, the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and I've never seen that happen before. So you were in great company tonight. So I would love to hear from you. How did this movie even come about? What was the inspiration for the screenplay?
Well, it was really I've had many mentors, and it was really just it started off as just kind of I'd never really seen a movie that I thought really captured the relationship between a mentor and kind of a student in the way that I had experienced it. So that was really the jumping off point.
So when it came to writing the character of Rose, did you have someone in mind to play her, or did you just hit the jackpot?
I just hit the jackpot.
That's a pretty big jackpot.
Yes. No,
how did that conversation come about?
Well, Jacqueline and I knew each other socially. We had a mutual filmmaker friend. Jacqueline had worked with him in a movie called The Sleepy Time Gal, and it's a guy named Christopher Munch, and he was a really good friend of mine. And
the best
person and director. Wonderful. The confluence of these two directors, Christopher and Russell.
There you go.
I have to say, no, really, I mean, I've done a lot of movies, worked with lots of great directors, but the confluence of Christopher Munch leading me to Russell Brown is really, it's the major thing for me. Absolutely major, major, major. And two beautiful roles, incredibly good roles, difficult roles, enlightening roles, but the real stuff.
What was your take on the character of Rose when you read the screenplay?
I said, ooh, la, 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 la. Ooh, I'm too old to play this woman. The part is the beginning. I want to play the beginning. I want the naughty stuff and all this bad behavior. What am I going to do? Is there any way I can look young? No. I can't. I can go back a few years, but no. No, but I thought, ooh, I loved the early part. I thought, oh, just to be a bad person and a bad behavior, I thought it would be glorious. Maybe I can hang on to a little bit of it at some points, and when it came further in. And then we talked, and we were able to keep some bits. But he had me at one point she used to sing a lot, and I can't sing. I really can't. I used to study voice, and I could at that time, but that's 1980. But I thought, oh, it was just such a bore. I couldn't bear it. And he gave up on some of the songs, thank God. And he gave up on some of the meals. Some of the meals were absolutely extraordinary. The food that he had put together, obscurity. I mean, I was like, how could anybody eat these things? And then I got to know that he's a good cook.
Okay. Kelly. What was your take on Loren, like your first take on the screenplay, your first conversation with Russell about this?
It was very strange because I had taken a break from acting to make a film, and this was the first thing I read, and I felt it's very rare as actors. I'm sure when you read something, sometimes you're like, there's no way someone should cast me as this. And with this script, I said, I feel like I understand this guy. I have to meet this director. And when I met Russell, him and I both kind of looked at each other and were like, I think we're meant to do this together. So for me, I'm a young filmmaker as well, and so I related so much to what Loren was going through at that time. And we shot this 6 years ago, so I was kind of going through the same thing in my own life, and so I of course was in awe of Jacqueline as well as Loren is with Rose. So there was a lot of crossover between real life and the characters as well.
So when you first got Jacqueline and Kelly together, and you had like first meeting, maybe you did like a table read. How did the screenplay evolve from there? Like when you had your Loren Rose.
Well, the screenplay was pretty set, honestly. Like, I mean, we didn't change the screenplay much when we were from when we were shooting it, casting it. I will say about Kelly, I when I talk about this movie, I tell the story a lot, but I was really close to sort of giving up on making this movie because we couldn't find a Loren. Like it was just, I couldn't find someone. And Kelly came in and did this audition. And a lot of times when you're, this is my 5th movie, and I always, when auditions are happening, I always think, like, I want to watch something that's interesting. Like, do I want to watch more of this person? That's kind of like my bar. But Kelly did something that has never happened to me before, which is like, the way he did his audition scenes was exactly how I had always heard it. And that was so weird. I mean, it was like every breath, every pause. And you can hear it in the audition tape where I go like, how did you figure out how to do this? Like, it was so uncanny. So yeah, that was that audition moment.
It's meant to be.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? The first reading where we sat around a table, he provided lovely snacks, and the 2 pussycats arrived. And this was a very key moment to make me want to do that. His 2 cats arrived. And I watched Kelly. And I didn't know Kelly, and I wanted to see how he would be. And you can learn so much seeing people with animals. And I had this feeling of his heart, a yearning in his heart. I really felt a yearning in his heart to be in depth and in intelligence and in softness. I felt that he needed it, and I didn't say make any comment, but I left that dining room table where we ate. I ate double everybody else, but and I think this actor's going to be really good because he's really got humanity.
When it came to your approach to Rose, what informed your approach? I mean, look, she's an actress. You're an actress.
Well, it's just the words. The words inform. It's the words. And the knowledge of as you get older, you gather stuff, and you think when you're young, you don't know anything. You can't answer anybody's questions. You have no idea what to say. And then at a certain point, you say, God, I understand this. I've been through pain, the pain of this, so much pain in her life, and in my life too, a lot of pain. And you gradually gather tonal liberation, and you get your voice develops, and your feelings come up to the surface, and you can get in touch with them more easily than when you begin. And then you have to watch that, because if it goes over the top, then you're horribly gushy and over sentimental, and we don't want that.
Right. I just felt like, remember before sunrise, before sunset, and before midnight. That's what this movie really reminded me of. So you're in good company with Richard Linklater. So when it came time for you to do like a table read, to start rehearsing, what was that process like for you?
We didn't really do it, did we? We didn't really have a table read, did we?
We didn't really rehearse.
We just hung out at your house and ate cupcakes and petted cats and kind of read the words a little bit. It was more about just to kind of get to know each other a little bit. Yeah.
After you got to know each other a little bit, did that change your approach to?
Oh, completely.
How?
Oh, I couldn't stand him then.
You're Russell, both of us.
We just said, oh, no, we don't like each other. I loved Kelly. I loved him during the shooting, and I love him, and I think he's a great actor and a wonderful director also.
What makes him a great actor's director?
Well, from my point of view, in this piece, he's an incredible listener. That's a whole world completely to in its own. There are very few people who listen well, and most of them are not actors. It's an art, and it allows you to completely relax. If somebody's listening to you and they're listening, you can relax, take your time. It brings up layers of behavior that you can't do with someone who doesn't listen. I have a lot of friends who don't listen. I can tell immediately, you start the question and they're ready to tell you their version of the story, how sick they were, who their people were, and you go, stop it, but you can't, because you have to have good manners in this world. So you have to listen to their long story, and then you realize they don't really care about what you're going through at all. And if you're acting, that's not good.
That was actually another thing about the audition, is that Kelly, we actually specifically chose some scenes where he has to, that was the trick of the audition actually a little bit, was that we had to see if he would listen, and you would believe that he was listening to the other person, because that's one of the fundamental questions, like why does she keep revealing herself? Why does she keep talking? Why does she keep telling stories? And it's because Loren is such a listener. Like his gaze just draws her out.
It's on levels of, it's not just looking. You can feel it in his physical being. You can feel it absorbing and him thinking about it. And it comes out slightly in layers. I mean, that's really what acting is about. Taking it deeper and being believable.
I want to ask, Kelly, you said that you had, you went away, you made another movie, and you came back to this. So what were the unique acting challenges for you, especially knowing that you were going to be acting alongside or sitting right across from one of the greats?
Well, I think this screenplay is it's very unique, and it's very bold for Russell to make this movie because, they tell you, it's all about visual storytelling and try to cut as much dialogue as possible. And here's a script I read it felt like a play. And so for an actor, that is an incredible opportunity because I get to sit across from Jacqueline, who's just an incredible actress, and not only learn from her, but to have this beautiful, soulful dialogue that has layers and depths and stories. And so for me, I just was like, oh, this is such a gift to be able to do this with these people. And still the gift just keeps giving. We're sitting here today.
Yeah, and who do you ever get to have this kind of conversation with? I mean, in real life.
It's very rare.
It's very rare.
I think it's very rare this thing about listening to, sometimes we meet somebody and we do feel seen by them. And in that way, they allow us to express our true selves. And I think those are very true friendships that are gifts that come along very rarely in our life. And I feel like, to me, that's what this film was two people who were seeing each other and allowing each other to expose themselves.
I find that sometimes you meet people, and it starts off like that, and you stay up all night, and you're sitting in a cafe, and everybody talks and talks, and you really do. And then you start a relationship, and very often that diminishes. People get too busy, and you feel like you're not having that depth. And it's a terrible feeling when somebody ceases to listen in the same way, or really pay attention on a physical and everything. It's such a thing to have somebody who sees you, or whoever you, not to forget acting, but just to be listened to. And I feel that. I've always had a thing about listening. My father was a great listener, and he told me, he said, if you learn to listen and if you take an interest in people, you will always have friends. And it was a massive thing to me. And I developed my desire to go faster in personal relationships, and to slow myself down so that I could be that person as well in life to some degree, learn to do it, learn to listen, and people who give me that occasionally is very few. I'm sure you feel the same way. Isn't it? What can one do about it? Why is everybody in such a rush to not really breathe with you? It's breathing, really. It's breathing. Words are breathing.
It's a lot of distractions these days.
I know, but still, we should be much closer now, talking about all this stuff.
That's what we're here for tonight. We're talking about this.
Let's get into the other subject. Yeah.
So, okay, how many shooting days did you have for this movie, and did you shoot chronologically?
It was 12 days.
Wow.
And it was 9 days in the cafe, and then 3 days like the auction scenes and like the little bits and pieces like in the restaurant where they dance and that kind of stuff.
So you had 12 shooting days. How many, I'm guessing you didn't have the luxury of doing multiple takes.
Oh no, we did a lot.
You did a lot.
Yeah. We got that whip out.
Oh boy.
No, I mean we really did do a lot. Carol Mitchell was our key.
Where's Carol?
Hair stylist on the movie. Was in charge of a lot of, helped us create the Lisa overnight habit. And we were working hard those days. I mean, we were shooting a lot.
And yeah, just to add, this was unique too because we sort of memorized it like a play. And so Russell would say, okay, we're going to do, sometimes it was like a 15-minute take or 10-minute takes of 20 pages of dialogue.
Wow.
And he would just move the camera around and we'd do a big section of the script. And that was amazing. I really loved that way of working.
I mean, one thing that might be interesting about this is that Phil, who is a great character, but also had a strategic purpose in the script, because every time Phil shows up, always a third and 2/3 through the scenes. So that's where we would cut for the day. So it was always when Phil arrives, that's the end of the day. Then we come back the next day, do the next chunk, and then Phil was sort of...
He was so wonderful
so
to be
the whole
around.
shooting environment would change every time Phil came, and all the shots would change, because when he arrived, we would have a new day.
And the day he'd be in makeup, he'd be standing there in his velvet coat, looking so elegant. And he's such a refined and extraordinary person. I mean, the humor that he brought was wonderful. It's a massive part that he gave, a very big addition to us talking away. He just, love the guy.
So here's my question for you, Jacqueline.
Yes.
Actually, for you too. But I'm going to start with Jacqueline on this. So you had 12 shooting days. There was a lot of dialogue. You had 20 pages. How the heck do you remember your lines?
Well, you don't all the time. Sometimes you don't, you get in a muddle. Well, we worked. We didn't have that much. We had a fair amount of time because it took a long time to get the thing off the ground, didn't it? So we were going to do it, and then we didn't do it, and then we were going to do it. There was 2 or 3 times, it seemed to me, that's what happened. And then once we started, we had to study. But it's so well written, Once you get into the swing of it, it's a joy.
How about you, Kelly? Do you have a sort of trick as an actor to help you remember your lines?
Yeah, well, one thing is, when the script and the dialogue is really great, it tends to absorb much easier. And then this very unromantic thing is I had an app, and I don't know if they have it now. It's called Rehearsal, and you can feed the script into this app and feed the lines into it, and then you can basically just have it in your ear at all times. So I use that trick on this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
To remember
Well, not while we were shooting, but just to help to remember. yeah. To help remember the dialogue and
I have a certain place in my house where I can learn more than other places, and I sit
true?
there. Yeah, it's a place. It's a corner, and I sit down on these cushions, and I have my digestive biscuits and my English tea, and my cat comes and sits, come by, and I just am in heaven. I don't want that to change.
See, that's the romantic version of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it so. It's so cozy. And if you're saying nice words, I have a friend who comes occasionally and reads with me, and she'll read the words back. She said, "How do you learn all this?" I said, "Well, we haven't got the words yet. We're still working on it." But our leader, Russell, quite tough at times. Yes, quite tough. Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Spill the
yes.
beans, Russell.
No, not in a bad way, but just very organized and very, very good at organizing everybody and being very polite and grateful to each person. And he really felt that the whole crew was a very giving group, I think.
Definitely. I mean, as a director, at least in my experience, your kind of manner kind of affects the whole thing. So you have to kind of feel like, be a certain way.
He used to dress appallingly during the shoot. Most peculiar
It's because I stole all of his
outfits.
clothes. I was wearing all of
wearing all
Russell's
my
clothes,
clothes.
so he had to.
Was that what it
He was
was?
wearing my clothes. That's
Oh my! The outfits.
Well, the truth is, that location had a lot of mosquitoes, so I was always wearing kind of like long legging things so that I wouldn't get bitten.
Well, that's what he said, but I think he had a thing for those leggings.
So I'm watching the film, okay, and as I'm listening to the conversation between Loren and Rose, I'm hearing the questions that I'm going to ask you tonight. So first question coming from your script is, what did you love about working with each other?
What did we... Well, you go first.
I'll start because I want to go to Russell. So Russell, as you can tell, is a very just luminous individual, and it's very rare with a script to have. You guys just watched the film, that the subjects that are touched upon and the language, it's just so beautiful and romantic, and I feel like there's not a lot of that these days, and it's a bold film to make because it was again, it's a lot of dialogue. So Russell just made it such a joy, and I watched the movie again recently, and it's something that I think as creatives you can revisit to get inspiration, especially when you're feeling lost or feeling in a hole, or you've lost your voice or your inspiration. I feel like this film could be something to revisit to find it again.
Oh, the speech she says to him, what she tells him to stand, be an artist, to take on your own place in the world. I mean, it totally invigorates me, that speech. I just think everybody should know that speech and just take it serious, really believe it. Get a grip of their own life, not let it divert into 1,000 places. I love that speech. I just think it's brilliant.
What was your favorite thing about working with Jacqueline and Kelly?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just have to say, first of all, I just love these two people so much. So the whole thing was just such a pleasure because I just genuinely adore them both. Working with Kelly was like, Kelly and I are kind of strange. We're very simpatico people. I think we see the world a lot in the same ways, and we have the same values, and we almost didn't even need to talk that much. We sort of I never really had to direct Kelly. He just, I don't know. We have a lot in common, so that was really easy. And Jacqueline was just so. Just to be honest, you're doing wardrobe and hair with Jacqueline Bisset, and just talking about all these amazing movies she's been in and people she's worked with. It's great.
We didn't do much of that talking. We didn't. We paid attention to your story.
But that stuff was really fun, though. I liked.
Well, we did travel a bit. We went to a few festivals together, and that was fun. I said, you got to come to my room, and we have to choose what I'm going to wear for this thing. So he'd come, and we'd choose what frock I might put on or not put on, whatever. And that was really fun. I enjoyed that.
The festival tour was hilarious.
Yeah, it was fun.
I will also say that while shooting this film, in between takes, I basically was doing the same thing with Jacqueline. So I said, how was it to work with Steve McQueen and Francois Truffaut and John Huston and, all these incredible filmmakers and actors, and you were so generous to.
It was good.
It was good. Yeah, it was all right.
One thing that just jumped into my mind. We shot the movie a while ago, so it's hard to remember that stuff. But actually, cutting the movie was really interesting in terms of working with Jacqueline, because you really saw a lot of things that you didn't realize were happening while you were just shooting. You suddenly see. When she's doing the monologue about Bhutan, and I'm sitting in the cutting room, going oh my God, she's just you can't stop looking at her.
I like that scene a lot for a long time, but I've gone off it. I've gone off it. Yes, Then I said, she said, when I say it was death, I thought, she's out of her mind. She's bonkers. What is that? What is that referring to?
The specter who tells her to have to keep her power.
I totally got that, but then it said that she actually believes that it was death.
It was.
Wow. What am I saying?
That's a life-changing moment when death comes and tells you to have power.
Yeah.
Here's another quote from the film. Rose says, "Younger actors refresh you." Is that true?
Well, I think I think younger people refresh you, yeah. And also, if you have any bad habits, you got to get rid of them. I personally believe that watching dailies is incredibly important, so that you don't, you see the things that you might do. You must not keep redoing the things that work. Mm-hmm. You've got to can't do that again. Got to dig, find another way to say it. So that's something that I think keeps you fresh, and young people for sure. But you also have the empathy for them. Sometimes they're very nervous and struggle, just like you did, and you can give them some power by encouraging them.
So you watch your dailies?
I used to always watch my dailies. I actually lay on the floor of a theater because the producer did not let us see our dailies, and I actually hid. It was a film called The Mephisto Waltz, and unfortunately, the producer came into the room when I was actually lying on the floor behind some chairs, and he pretended he didn't see me. But I said, I have to see the dailies. And we used to go, it was so much fun. When I started with the Polanski movie, we would go to all together. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was an incredible gift to see what you were doing. I only had a couple of scenes, but seeing what you do wrong and not repeating it over and over. I mean, I want to see it repeated, but you see what you've been not refreshing it all the time. You've got to keep refreshing it. I think it's a brilliant way. And people say, oh, I don't watch my movies. I don't watch myself. I say, I do watch myself. I do watch it. And when I used to, but now you can't get near them because now it's all on computers and stuff. And nobody, no, but I think it's a great pity. And I'm sure that young actors should see dailies and learn not to be so self-conscious. Just say you're doing it. You might as well accept that you're doing it and stop saying, I don't like watching myself. I don't believe that for a minute.
Wow.
I don't believe it.
Listen. Here's another question.
Just go on Instagram and go naked and do everything you're there. I mean, for God's sake.
Right. What's the difference? How did you get the bug? The acting bug?
I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I had a friend in high school who said, if you study acting, she was in the business. She said, if you study acting, you can learn how to make films, and you'll be a better director as well. So, I didn't set out to be an actor. I studied, and I really enjoyed it. But that's kind of how I got into it. Yeah.
His first film. What's the name of the first film?
Senior Love Triangle.
Senior Love Triangle.
Oh my God, it's so good. You must try and see that film. Senior Love Triangle. And it's such an unusual subject. It's amazing that he, as a young filmmaker, would make this film so brilliantly. It's so, so good. Remember that title?
Oh, thank you, Jacqueline.
I really, really was impressed.
Is she your publicist?
No, but it, it's about some older people, and it's a love and it's so clever and full and meaningful. And I said, how could he make something that deep, being very young? I was astounded by it.
All right. As we're running out of time, I want to ask you. You brought up some of the people that she's worked with. Tip of the iceberg. I mean, like all the actors and directors you worked with.
They're all dead. It's awful.
But hang on. What were maybe a couple of the actors or directors that you did work with that you learned the most from as an actress?
I learn most from watching movies with great actors, not from the actors I worked with. Very rarely. I worked watching Jean Moreau, watching the French films, watching what the potential of a female is, which I had no sense of as a young girl. I had nothing. We didn't have television. I just started seeing those incredible actresses, Ingmar Bergman, those women. Those actresses taught me a lot about being a feminine person or a non-feminine person. I was just absolutely stunned by what that was in the world, if it really existed. I mean, it was mysterious, sexual, interesting, solid, and magical. I don't know if any of you did any of you see the films of the early 60s? That whole period of film, all those wonderful actresses, Simone Signoret, Anna Magnani, all those wonderful foreign actresses. That was how I learned about.
All right, so last question is this. Obviously, we are here at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and we are in a room full of actors here. What kind of advice would you give, especially with all the challenges that have been facing our industry over the last 5 years, to stick with it? Advice that you would have for actors?
I don't know. I haven't got any advice. It's so hard.
Do you remember the best advice you ever got?
I got advice from my father. Basically, that thing about if you're always interested in people, you'll always have friends. That was very key for me. to be interested, and I was of nature of being very interested. When I left school, I realized now is the time I'm going to be much happier, and I'm going to be the person I want to start to be. And that was about other people. It wasn't about study, but through people. Everybody's interesting, You've got to ask questions. Nobody asks questions. Sometimes I go out and the evening and I think, God, I don't really want to be here, but I'll meet somebody to talk to. And nobody asks me a single question. I go, what's the matter with people? What is the matter with them? And I ask questions, and they say, my God, you ask a lot of questions. I say, yes, I do ask, but how am I going to learn unless I ask questions? I don't understand that.
Well, thank you for answering our questions here tonight. Jacqueline, Russell, Kelly, Loren Rose, tell everybody to watch it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, SAG-AFTRA Foundation. Thanks so much.